Can Liverpool recover from their worst title defense? Can they leave their mark on 26-27? Plus, Newcastle news, some interesting transfers or transfer rumors and are emerging and a few scouting reports all right here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Oh, brilliant from Shea. And now Murphy can take on the shot. Fabian Shea
All right, folks. I hope you guys are all well. We've got a fantastic show lined up today. We're going to be doing a squad analysis for Liverpool, looking at their finances, looking at their squad quality, looking at their squad resilience, and thinking about what do they need to do this summer to be able to compete for the title again, as well as looking at their financial situation, which, spoiler alert, is very, very good. But also, we're going to talk about some Newcastle news as well. I've got a couple fairly good overviews of some players, at least three players that Newcastle are currently looking at. We'll see the depth we can go into them, but I want to get you guys' views. If you think these guys are floor raisers, ceiling raisers, can they replace the likes of Bruno and others? But also it's a bit of chatter as well. I've seen from some interesting chatter on the news on the web. I don't know if you guys have seen in relation to Johan Manzambi. It could be something, it could be nothing, but it would be funny if things didn't turn out the way we think they might. We will see. But in the meantime, I want to thank you guys in advance, as always, for always liking, sharing, subscribing, going on the comments, being here early. I'm really appreciative as well. I'm having a late night session today, so whatever you're doing, or maybe for some of you, you're getting up. It depends where you are in the world. It might be morning, evening, or afternoon. My presumption is, I think most of my audience are from the UK, so my presumption is that it's a late one for most of the folks that are here. You might be on the late night shift. You might need to hear some white noise as you're trying to get to sleep, or you're wide awake, whatever it is you're doing. Whatever, you could have been doing anything in the world, but you're right here with me. So great to have you guys. As always, God bless you. Good to see my man Adrian, always here in the chat. Quick, James as well. Good to see you, so really, really good to see you. James says, I was talking to Adrian there. Yeah, Spain did deserve the win. Fantastic win. Congratulations to Spain getting through to the final. More than well deserved it. A fantastic, fantastic performance. James says, I cannot see Bruno going now. It may not be his choice, but Arsenal were not willing to spend that kind of money. Yeah, do you know what, James? You might be right. And I hope you are right. Put it this way. I'm just in the acceptance phase. And I'm reluctant to until I see him until I see him with a new contract, or kind of something stable saying it. I'm in the acceptance phase that Bruno for sure is leaving. So but we'll see. Good to see my man Register Kev here. Big up to you, sir. God bless you. Always a blessing to have you on the show, as always. All right, let's get into Liverpool. And I'm hoping to, before I'm going to be doing, as you guys know, when we're covering about 7, 8, 9 teams, right? We've done Aston Villa, we've done Brighton, we've done Man United, we've done Arsenal, we've done Chelsea. Did I say Arsenal? I did say Arsenal. I forgot who else. But we're doing Liverpool today, and I'm looking forward to doing, obviously, City and a few others before we go into towards the end of the transfer window and assess where every team's at. I'm hoping to get some guests on to kind of give a final analysis on all of this, and to kind of think about, get some predictions going for where the season's going to be at. But I'm really loving doing this from a rivals lens of you guys. Looking at squad quality and everything else, I feel like it's been really, really positive. Like, so I hope you guys are enjoying it too. All right, so can the Reds leave their mark on 26-27? And obviously they've had a tough. Well, I say tough. They still got to the Champions League and everything else, but by their standards and by the money they spend, which is about 500 million, they expected a lot more from their season. But let's get into their financial situation going into this season, which you can imagine is very, very healthy, despite spending a lot of money in the previous summer. Now, as you guys can see from the top there, I used analysis from Craig Cordell. If you guys know who he is, a gentleman on X who I think he's got a really good. I think he's got an accounting background, but he does this for every team. But I use his stuff from 24-25, also the Athletic who covered I think 26, and Swiss Ramble who covered 24-25, and got onto the old AI to kind of get to the bottom line of where makes it, because you have to make predictions, right? Because you can only cover 24-25 season because that's where you got the records out for most clubs, right? You haven't got the kind of real up to date ones, apart from Man United, and that's because Man United are on the stock exchange, so their quarterly reports are their reports are quarterly. So literally, like any stock, if you guys are in your stocks and shares, you know that you get your reports quarterly. So they're, to be fair to Man United, um, their accounts are there for everybody to see. So yeah. So we're making estimations. So I said all that to say this: as for I think for most teams, we've had to do this for. We've had to make estimations as to where they are in this current season. So we use Craig Cordell, the Athletic, and Swiss Ramble to give us an idea, bottom line, of where Liverpool could be with their financial situation going into this summer. So Craig Cordell's model in place, obviously 24-25 season, as mentioned, squad cost. So his squad cost ratio is approximately 56 to 58% for Liverpool, which is incredibly incredible because they've got really good financial revenue as well. Though their wage bill was super, super high. And I do wonder if how much that has been impacted by their summer as well. But regardless, they're according to that, they're comfortably below the 70% limit. And that means that Liverpool entered the summer spending period probably somewhere along the 50% of the squad cost of the revenue of the squad cost ratio. I suspect, me personally, I suspect it's a bit higher because of the spending they had in 24-25 and the wages, and because Liverpool have, especially if they win Champions Leagues or Premier Leagues, anything like that, they have incredible bonuses, super, super, super high bonuses. So take, there's obviously a margin for error for all of these things, right? Right. So we've got about around 67%. So then we look at, what is that? Essentially that's 13% under the Champions League limitation of what is 70%. And obviously Liverpool come under the 70%, come under that particular rule because they're in the Champions League, right? Now, both of all three articles, Cordell, The Athletic, and Swiss Ramble, they sort of point into the same direction in terms of record revenue. That Liverpool have record revenue. They have strong operating profit. They have reduced infrastructure spending. They have positive operating cash flow. They have a low transfer debt, which is interesting. They have healthy profitability. They have large Champions League revenues. They're literally in the Champions League every season. Excuse me. Apart from the one time they was in Europa because of us, and they have significant commercial growth. So global, worldwide brand, lots and lots of money. So if you convert the headroom, remember that headroom is around 13%. Like I said, I think it might be a little bit lower, but there you are. Liverpool's adjusted UEFA revenue approximately is their approximate revenue, overall revenue is between 700 and 750, 740 and 750 million. Now, if you put that into context of Newcastle, I think we're on between 320 to 350. So Liverpool are literally twice, Liverpool's revenue is literally twice the size of ours. Now, according to the financial modeling, once obviously the UEFA adjustment has been applied, so that leaves them with approximately 96 to 98 million pounds in terms of SCR, or in terms of excuse me, additional annual squad costs before reaching 70% limit. Right, so that's a lot of headroom, because what that essentially means is, if you just break it down a little bit more, if you look at, for instance, if we kind of use this next kind of thought hypothesis on wages, player amortization, manager wages. Remember with SCR, it takes on all these kind of elements. So you can have an example of a player that's 60 million pounds in transfer, a 5-year contract, 180k a week wages, and annual SCR cost for that would be amortization 12 million, wages around 9.4 million. The total SCR cost for that would be around 21 million. So if you use that as an example, Liverpool can have at least four 60 million pound players who are on 180k a week wages, for instance. Or another example would be, they could have three players on the transfer fee between 90 to 100 million on those type of wages. Or they could have 6 to 7 players from 35 to 50 million bracket before they have to make player sales. So they can buy at least 4 60 million pound players, 3 90 to 100 million pound players, or 6 or 7 players within whose players in the 35 to 50 million transfer bracket. All of this before player sales. That's absolutely phenomenal. Are you talking to Wilbur? Yeah. Big up to my man Michael Petit. God bless you, sir. Good to see you. Good to see you. I haven't seen you for a minute. Hope you've been well, sir. Hope you have been well. So essentially, that gives Liverpool tremendous headroom. And do folks remember, I'm going to be doing one. I'm going to leave Newcastle at the end in terms of doing the squad analysis because obviously we leave the best till last. All right, so the bottom line is, Liverpool's position is arguably the strongest among the traditional six. We haven't done the City yet, but obviously we covered Man United, who, despite having record revenues, have also record wages as well. We've covered Tottenham, who are in a good, healthy position, hence why you see the spending that they're spending at the moment. And but Liverpool so far, if you look at it, if you take this as fact, have the best kind of SCR position out of all the top 6 clubs. Again, I'm a little bit like, I think there's a little bit of margin for error for that, but you have it for all the clubs. So the transfer market implication for Liverpool. So Liverpool could realistically spend well in excess of 300 million on transfers without player sales. They could buy 3 100 million pound players and 180k wages, and they'll be okay. They provide, provided they might provide a certain amount of contracts, right? So all 3 sources, that's Cordell, The Athletic, and Swiss Ramble, have Liverpool entering 2026 summer from a position of significant financial strength rather than financial constraint. Now, I'll be interested to see how Liverpool exercise that strength. They've already obviously bought Munoz to our disadvantage for about 35 million. And so they've still got plenty of room to buy more players for sure. And obviously they've moved on Konate, for instance, for free, which they didn't like, but they had to do it. So they got those wages off their bill. So, it all kind of balances out in itself as well. So they are entering They're entering the summer in a very, very, very strong position. Register Kev says, I think Saliba's injured. There were rumors already before the cup started he would get one done. Oh, he's got an injury. Oh, he's going to be out for a while. Fair. Register Kev says, true, but we've been clearing out the wages and improving the ones coming in. No, you have. I don't know if you saw Register Kev. I did the show for Man United as well. And we've been doing a lot of work in clearing out your wages for sure. Like it's reduced a lot. Uh, it's still fairly high. Obviously, you've got Casemiro out, but you still got the likes of Rashford, Mount, for instance. And so I personally think that is why, for instance, you've lost out to Mateus Fernandez, to Tottenham for Mateus Fernandez and uh, Tonali. I know their wages were super sky high, around 300k, like 250 to 300k. And I think ordinarily would say that's a really good thing. But I think it also highlights, I think it makes sense that Man United, judging from how kind of we looked at their financial situation before, kind of backed out of those deals. You didn't want to once because you've just freed yourself from a 300k, 350k from Casemiro, and you don't want to tie yourself down again to another 250, 300k contract again. Uh, so it's interesting. So, but I think within a year, 2 years time, you'll definitely be free of that, and I think that's the aim for your team. Yeah, please do, please do. I'll be really, really keen to hear what you think about it. Yes, and the Champions League, I think it went up. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of money from the Champions League. The Glazers did absolutely. So I think Ineos are doing a fairly decent job in clearing things up for Man United as well. All right, so like I said, in conclusion, Liverpool go into the summer transfer window in a very, very strong financial SCR position. They can buy if this is before player sales, they can buy 3 players worth 100 million, 90 to 100 million before player sales, 180k contracts, 5-year contracts, no problem, or 4 players for 60 million each. Again, 180k contracts. You want to do it that way, or like 6 to 7, excuse me, players on between 35 to 50 million pound transfer fees on 180k contracts. If you want to, so they essentially can spend 300 million pounds altogether on players without making player sales before having to make player sales. So that's a phenomenal position to be in. So they're in a good position. Right, and that comes with winning the Premier League as well. So we shouldn't be surprised. Right, so let's get into their squad. Let's get into Liverpool's squad. Now, we did the minutes for their team. I used FB Ref this time because transfer market for some reason is not down. The site is still working, but the situation with the minutes is down. But FB Ref is super, super accurate, super like it's used by a lot of folks. So I don't think we're going to be like way out of order or anything like that. So from the top, but I wanted to mention it because it is different. It is not I want it to be consistent by using the same sources, i.e., transfer market. Obviously, we've had to swap things around a little bit. Right. So from the top, the total amount of minutes Liverpool have played as of last season was 52,000 minutes, 516. Obviously, they've played in all 4 competitions at varying stages. I don't think did they reach the final for anything? Not for the League Cup, not for the FA Cup. I don't think. But they got to the quarterfinal of the Champions League, I think, and finished fifth in the Premier League. So typically they play a lot more minutes, but their season was their season was. Their squad overall average squad age is 25.7. Again, very very good. All the teams so far, big teams especially, high performing teams, are all pretty much within the age range of 25, 26. Arsenal, Liverpool, even Brighton. Um, so I'm going to compare it to Newcastle. I think, but like I said, we're typically like 28, 29. We've got a fairly old squad. So the fact that you've seen Kieran Trippier leave, you've seen a number of, I can't remember from the top of my head, leave or let go Matt Target. We've got Bazuma Traore, who's 20 years old. We've got Sture who's 18 years old. We've got Yoan, the goalkeeper, who's 18, 19, 20 years old. So we're working very, very hard to drop that age range. So and trying to do what they do. So in terms of because this is what all the big teams do, and they've used 17 players overall now out of the 25. Now I didn't like, as you guys know, I usually stop at 500 minutes. There's like three, four, five players more under 500 minutes. But for me, the 500 minutes is the cutoff point because that's when you're like just not used essentially. So you've got 17 players with Virgil van Dijk. I forgot how old is Virgil? It's about 34 years old, 35 years old. Um, uh, uh, he's in a lot of minutes for Liverpool. It's very, 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 very important for Liverpool. Their minutes distribution very, very high, very, very high for their defenders in terms of Van Dijk and for Konate, who played the majority of minutes for their section. That's because only Gomez really was fit, and he played about 1,000 or so minutes, a little bit more. So not a lot of distribution amongst the defenders. Then it's the midfielders, where I think that's really the healthiest part of the department. There's a little bit more distribution amongst them, and then the forwards, where both Ekatike and Isak had some rotation, obviously for injuries and everything else. But obviously, Ekatike unfortunately received a really bad injury towards the end of the season as well. But he played the majority of the season minutes as well this season, if that makes sense. So, if we're talking about kind of squad depth overview according to their minutes, kind of they've got fairly good minutes, not looking at quality, but fairly good minutes in terms of their goalkeeping department, the left back area, with Robertson and Kirkers, I think it is, good distribution amongst them. Central midfield is very, very good and fairly okay in the right wing area where they had, I think, a bit of a mix between Salah and I forgot the other fella. It wasn't Ngoma, but maybe somebody else. But still very, very like not incredible, right? Want to show something as well. What did I just do? Ooh, I thought I barred someone by accident, like I did to James by accident as well. So key takeaway: there's a heavy, heavy reliance on a core spine of Van Dijk in terms of minutes. Van Dijk and Konate, they played a lot of minutes them too, and obviously Konate's just left Liverpool as well. Gravenberch, Soboslai, and McAllister, so defenders and midfielders. Right back and centre back depth need reinforcement in terms of minutes. Again, striker minutes are shared, room for more rotation. I think that's down to the injuries to Isak and him slowly coming back in. And then Ekatike being injured and then slowly going back out, essentially. And obviously, you want the young talent like Ngoma getting more minutes and him slowly coming into the team as well. So just to summarize their kind of minute depth in terms of, if you compare it to Arsenal, who was the last team that we looked at, they're fairly top heavy in terms of Van Dijk, Szoboszlai, Konate, as mentioned, taking up most of the minutes. Though they have an elite spine that they rely upon 6 or 7 players to kind of carry the team, with their right back area being fairly light and striker rotation as well. I'll add also their wing forwards. We're going to see them in a minute, and centre back depth as well it's been very, very bad. But obviously they got two centre backs in. I think it's Leone, who's 18, 19 years old, but he got a really bad. I don't know if it was an ACL, but it was an injury that took him out for a whole year. So he's going to be coming back next year. And Jacquet is coming back from loan. Jeremy Jacquet is coming back from loan. So they've got guys that they've got ready to kind of reinforce. But that centre back depth was not good in the season that they had. If you compare them, for instance, to Arsenal's, they've got a smaller core squad, but they still got a good core squad. It's not to say they in general have a small core squad. It's just compared to Arsenal, it's a bit smaller. That's all. And they've got a higher minute concentration among their first 11. Like in terms of minutes, like at the moment, Arsenal have the best distribution of minutes. I think Arsenal's superpower, and even they get bantered for it, and they shouldn't, is the fact they've got like a lot of depth. They got like 8 defenders, and lots of midfielders, and their wing forwards are very well supplied. Like that kind of rotation has been very very good for them. But they have a potentially higher. Liverpool have a potentially higher quality of squad that they can deliver in different areas as well. Mohamed Salah on the wing, Isak and Ekatike as forwards are better than Gyökeres, for instance, in my opinion. Gravenberch and Soboslai in the middle, I think, will be fairly even, but very high quality compared to Erdegaard and Declan Rice. You can it's a toss up between who's better, and obviously the defenders: Van Dijk, Konate versus Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes. You probably take one of each. So Liverpool probably just about edge it in terms of maybe overall squad quality in those kind of departments. So yeah, that's Liverpool in terms of minutes. We want to look a little bit about their quality as well. Just seeing if you guys have got anything in the chat. If I missed anything, nope. Cool. All right. So that's the squad quality. Now let's look at this. Excuse me. That was the what do you call it? That was the minutes. Let's look at the squad quality, the delivered quality. So, for those that might not know what that means, in terms of squad quality delivered by players who actually played. So, this is weighted by the highest minute player in each positional unit to reflect the quality actually delivered on the pitch. For those of you that are kind of new to this, I use data MB. So I use which helps me to kind of look at the quality of each individual player in their respected, or players in their respected area. So this is the goalkeeper, this is the defenders, the fullbacks, the midfielders, the wide forwards, and the strikers. And you might notice that not all the players are in there. And that's because on Data MB, it only looks at players who've played 1,000 minutes or more within the Premier League. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at not all competitions. We're looking at players who've played in the Premier League and have played more than 1,000 minutes, which is actually a good guideline or a good boundary, because then you get to really, really see, you kind of get to really focus and filter out the actual quality of the team. Right. So when I'm talking about weighted by the highest minute of weighted by the highest minute, it's weighted by the highest minute player in each positional unit to reflect the quality actually delivered on the pitch. It would mean that essentially, who's ever played the most minutes. So, for instance, between Van Dijk and Konate, Van Dijk's played 400 more minutes than Konate. We're looking at Konate's minutes. But we're weighting them according to the minutes that Van Dijk has played. So his overall quality might even though it's good, obviously, it might go a little bit lower because he hasn't played as much minutes as Van Dijk has. And what's made me do that is because you'd have players, for instance, that have played. We had Garnacho, for instance. I think it came from my time of talking with Bobby Fairview. If you guys go onto Data and B now, if you got access to it, you see that Garnacho, for instance, has phenomenal um, kind of overall kind of percentile quality that's on Data MB, but he's played like 1,200 minutes, 1,100 minutes in the league. So a lot of the time we know that he's either on the bench coming on the team, or he's kind of being rotated out. So you kind of get, I'm not going to say snippet, that's doing a disservice. Would his overall percentile quality be as high if he was doing 3,000 minutes or 3,500 minutes, which is what, for instance, Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez are doing? I don't think it would be. So I think the best and fairest way we can do is to kind of weight out their minutes, their kind of percentile quality according to the minutes that they've played. And then when I talk about the kind of overall quality positions in those areas, so goalkeeper, centre back, central midfield. So we weight the percentile quality according to the highest minutes of the player that's playing that position. And then we do the average quality. If you kind of add all the numbers up with, for instance, Van Dijk, Konate here. So if you add all these individual qualities, their pass completions, their forward passes, their progressive passes, their possession one, defensive duels, aerial duels, progressive carries, and minutes. If you add them all up and then divide them between the two players, because that's where you've got two players in this position, what's the average quality for the defensive department? And obviously for Liverpool, that's the highest. If you go back here, if you look at their centre back area, that's where their highest quality is. Their highest unit is their centre back, which is at 69.8. That's out of 100, right? So that's very, very close to, like, that's pretty much, it's at the highest level. If you look at the kind of the unit rankings at the bottom here, they're like at the highest end of like a very competitive Premier League team. They're almost a genuine Champions League caliber unit, by their kind of overall squad quality. So, which is really, really good, which is really, really, really good, right? Um, but then you can also argue it's just two centre backs, right? And their squad, the depth in the centre back area isn't good. The next centre back that's there is Joe Gomez, and Joe Gomez hasn't even been able to play enough minutes to get himself onto Data, and B hasn't played 1,000 minutes in the Premier League. So what would happen if he did? And that kind of quality might drop. So you kind of there's a benefit and a disadvantage in kind of however way you kind of break it down, but it still gives us a good indicator of where the team is at. So I hope that makes sense. So the overall delivered quality, that's players that have played, right, 1,000 minutes plus. The overall kind of do you know what I did? I missed one out for you guys. I was meant to have the quality on paper as well. I was thinking there's one that's missing. There is one that is missing. So there's the delivered quality. That's the players that were available, and then there's the overall, and then there's obviously the what do you call it? The delivered quality. Do I have it here? Oh no, I took it off by accident. Let me see if I can find it. Um, so there's like what would be the best quality team on paper that's to play, and what's the team, and obviously what's the what do you call it? What's the team that's actually been available for them? Let me see if I can find it, because I think that would be good to see. Tell me I got it, man. Tell me I've got it. Hopefully I do. Uh, Da-da-da-da-da. I thought I had it. That's annoying, man. Where is that at? Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Could I tell from here? So that's the minutes. Nah, I don't have it. Sorry, guys. So I would have had the squad on paper, but that's annoying. I can't get it. Cool. It's all right. So that's the squad quality index. So in terms of the players that actually played, right? And obviously for the goalkeeping, so excuse me, so the overall squad quality is 61 percentile. If you put them all together, all their numbers together, kind of rank the team overall as to if you can see at the bottom here. So obviously the goalkeeper is 53 percentile for Allison, who's dropped a lot, injuries and everything else. Delivered quality in the centre back area is 69.8. That's their highest area. Then it's their central midfield at 67.5. Then it's their fullbacks at 47, which is their lowest. It's their lowest percentile quality. That's pretty much a mid-table fullback performing team area of their team. Then it goes a little bit higher with their wide forwards, with Gakpo and with Salah. And then you got their strikers, Isak and Ekatike, in a 63.7 percentile. So if you add all of them together and divide them, you get an overall squad quality, overall team competitive quality of a 61 percentile. So overall, it's a competitive Premier League team. I think they're just slightly lower than Arsenal's, but again, I think like I said, Arsenal's superpower is their squad rotation. I know a lot is about their set piece taking and all these other things, but for me, Arsenal's superpower last year was their squad rotation. Unlike Liverpool, they've got tons of centre backs and full backs and midfielders and wide forwards, and even rotations for their strikers and to different degrees as well, even though they've had injuries. So their drop off in quality is very, very minimal if you're looking at Arsenal. So that's the first thing to say about Liverpool and what they've done. What's interesting, again, like in terms of there's been very little rotation with their goalkeepers. Alisson's played more than 2/3 of the Premier League. Mamashashvili, I don't think is rated, hence why he's probably done mostly like domestic cups and everything else, and probably has been there when Alisson has been injured during the season. But Alisson himself is older. He's got injuries. He's dropped off in quality in himself. So he's in the 53 percentile. So that's just above. That's like the lower tier of a competitive Premier League level, not too far from mid-table. So that's an area that they're going to have to fix. And obviously, if you heard some of the rumors, Liverpool are in for James Trafford, which makes a lot of sense for them. And that's the direction of travel for them. So it'll be interesting to see if Alisson is willing to be number two, because James Trafford will certainly want to be number one. But that kind of strength and depth, that quality and depth for them would be very, very good. Centre back area, as we spoke about, Konate has already left, obviously. But Leone and Jacquet, unproven in the Premier League, but still good talents, are coming in with Van Dijk. So they'll be looking for another centre back as well, Liverpool. But overall, if you're looking at quality, both Van Dijk and Konate are very, very good, like nearly Champions League level good. Um, Pretty much Champions League level good, right? And then you got the midfield area, which I think is their strongest department because it's got quality and depth. If you look at this is this is their this is their midfield area, and with Gavin Birch, Curtis Jones, Soboslai, McAllister, and Verts. So about five midfielders all playing more than 1,000 minutes. In fact, all of them playing more than 2,000 minutes in the Premier League. So really, really good minutes shared amongst them, with Gravenberch and Soberslai playing the most, around between 3,300 to 3,600, and McAllister's just following it, and Verts himself. But then also notice the minutes distributed, but the overall quality of their midfield is really, really, really good. So you can see they've got really good ball carriers. At least three of them are pretty much close to the elite level or very good level in terms of ball carrying. They've got good forward passes, good to very good forward passes, and good to very good forward pass percentages. They've got some really good key passes as well, players that can make things happen. Um, a good amount that are actually in the elite level. If you talk about Verts, if you talk about Soberslai, and Curtis Jones, who again I'm so surprised that Newcastle. I know that he really wants to go to Inter Milan, but um, if that falls through, I think it's such an obvious midfielder to go for, in my opinion. Then you got the progressive passes again, elite level in terms of Curtis Jones, Soberslai, follow closely behind by Verts, and then you got your at least two very good to almost elite level dual winners in your Gravenberch and your Soberslais, who are top players. And I think that's the reason why, for instance, the reason why Jones isn't getting as much minutes as he would like. So the midfield department is certainly very, very strong, and probably probably the most impressive in terms of squad quality, but also squad depth. And I think, again, if rumors are true, obviously Curtis Jones is possibly being sold and could be replaced by Felix Nemeka, who's a ball carrier, dual winner, and progressive passer. Exactly what Liverpool are looking for. James says, this is why I don't mind it's going for a slightly cheaper player like Zion Suzuki. Yes, you've seen some of the rumors. If there's lots of clubs hovering around James Trafford, then yeah, exactly. I'm going to have a little sneak peek at Suzuki today as well. There's a lot of players I want to look at. I'll probably have to do on Thursday, but I'll give you guys a choice. Yeah, so central midfield is probably the best area for them. Their fullback area is the worst in quality, not quite in depth, but because they've got at least three fit fullbacks: Connor Bradley, Andrew Robertson, who's been sold on Kirkers. But their overall quality you're looking at a team that's below, not a team, an area in their pitch that is below lower table quality. Um, I don't know if that's a structural thing. I think individual quality of those players defensively, Kirkers, Frimpong isn't as good. Connor Bradley is a young player still learning his trade. So they've got a lot of work to do in their fullback areas. They got their wide forwards are still going to be good, 63 percentile. Obviously with Mohamed Salah, even though he's had a down season compared to his usual standards, he's still very, very good, still very, very high. And Cody Gakpo, who I think is slightly underrated in my opinion, but could also be sold actually as well. But there's only two of them there. I don't know what happened to the others. And Goma is just coming in; he hasn't played enough minutes. Um, but there is, in terms of uh, depth, they're certainly lacking in that area. And then you've got their striker department, where obviously Isak hasn't played 1,000 minutes. He's still returning from his injuries. He was still returning from his injuries, even though I think he's played over 1,000 minutes, but in all competitions, not in the Premier League. Ekatike has played 2,000 minutes there, um, but still very good. Elite level in terms of touches in the box. If you compare that to Voltemada is very, very low. If you don't get touches in the box, you don't get as much chances. Still good conversion rate, decent assist rate. I think it could be. I think it's okay. It's okay offensive duel rate. It's above average. I'm surprised it's not a little bit higher. but maybe that's not necessarily his game. But yeah, it's certainly an area of depth they're lacking in their striker department, but that's only because of injuries, right? And even now, like I said, Ekatike is injured and is not. I think he's had an ACL and is not expected back till December, January, or something like that. So it's left to Isak to carry the team, which I think would worry fans if you look at his injury record. So overall, squad quality that Liverpool are able to deliver is 61 percentile, with their highest unit being the defensive area, the defenders, um, closely followed by the centre midfield. But again, in my opinion, the centre the midfield area is the best area because it's got both quality and depth in it. So that's how I look at their team. Um, Let me see if you guys are saying anything before I get to the next part. Who was it that said it? I think I saw someone say something. James, yeah. So there were too many that were just linked at the moment. Players overall, yeah, absolutely. James says fullback too true for Liverpool and Newcastle. Yes, especially well, I would say even with Livramento and Hall, our fullbacks are better on their own. We just lack depth. They in their fullback areas, they lack both depth and quality. And that's just not a good position to be in. Where I think we in our fullback area, we just lack depth. And I think that is something that we'll address for sure. Hopefully keeping our fullbacks at the same time if we can. That will be important. James says, yeah, but who might not be there? Man. Thirsty. Mr. Kev says, let us go around the block. We'll be back soon. Right. I was gonna talk actually. Oh, sorry. This is it. Sorry. Yes. So part three. And this doesn't you're not gonna it's an interesting one because this is the part three is we're again talking about depth and resilience. And this is what I was talking about earlier, depth and resilience. And that's where the central midfield is their best. So what's the difference between depth and resilience compared to the delivered quality? So depth and the resilience, talking about how resilient is the squad when the players are unavailable, right? So the method is depth score for each position unit is calculated using all players in the unit weighted by their share of minutes in that unit, measures the quality available behind the starters and the drop off. So when you look at the Liverpool positions, and apologies, I've got some of this wrong. So I didn't check it in terms of AI, so I'm gonna have to ignore some of it. But it's because they still got Kelleher and Jaros when it's meant to be Mamash dash Billy. So I'll have to ignore the Liverpool. They still got Gomez. Well, yes, they got Gomez obviously, but Kwanzaa shouldn't be there. I have to double check this, but the midfield is fine. McAllister, Jones, and Soboslai, Verts are there. I'll still say for the centre back area, actually, I'll go back to the centre back area. I'll ignore Kwanzaa because obviously he's not there. Did Kwanzaa leave in January? He might have left in January. That's why he was included. So if you look at the minute spread and then you look at the overall quality, you would see that obviously they've spread the quality for Gomez, and so that it drops off a little. It drops off by at least 3 percentile points in the centre back area for for Gomez, excuse me. Maybe a little bit less if Kwanzaa wasn't there. Though I'm sure Liverpool fans will differ with how steep the drop off is between Van Dijk, Konate, and Gomez. So I think it's a little bit lower than what it said there. But a central midfield area, as I was saying, actually goes into the Champions League level. It goes higher because they've got such good quality and depth in terms of their midfield. It might not be necessarily structured that well between player profiles, but individual quality and then the depth in minutes is pretty good. Fullback area is just average, it's phenomenally average. Wide forwards is good depth, but it's not great. With really Salah, Gakpo, and then Gomar as their person to fall back on, although he's talented, he's not that talented. And the striker depth is pretty low, just above average. But I think that's just down to minutes. If you had Isak and Ekatike playing, sharing like 2,000 minutes plus, I think that probably would go through the roof. But that has not been the case for them whatsoever. So overall, if you look towards if we kind of summarize with Liverpool, it's a bit nuts for me because I can't really summarize it because I still got some of them wrong. I should have double checked this. My apologies, especially with the goalkeepers and the centre backs. Everything else is, yeah. Again, my apologies. The striker areas, they've included players that shouldn't have been there, so I'm gonna have to ignore it. I'll have to do this Liverpool one again. The squad quality depth. You guys gonna have to ignore that. My apologies, guys. I should have double checked it. I was in a rush. But what I wanted to say for Liverpool, though, is where is it? I'll go back to the delivered quality because that's probably the best part I did. Let me know who you think. Where do you think Liverpool in the summer need to improve? They've got the money to do it. They've got the platform, the financial platform to do it, right? Um, if we summarize Liverpool's kind of overall kind of squad quality, the best department in terms of quality and depth is their central midfield. Um, the best quality department has been their defense overall, but it's 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 severely lacking in terms of quality. So, in my opinion, um, the goalkeeper department, obviously with a declining Allison, needs fixing. If Allison stays, you've got James Trafford coming in as number one. That's pretty good quality and depth if they fix that. So goalkeeper for Liverpool, I think obviously Konate has left, so that's down to Van Dijk, Jeremy Jacquet, and Leone. Both centre backs are talented centre backs, but um, I wonder if Liverpool do get another centre back, or they have Van Dijk, Gomez, Jacquet, Jeremy Jacquet, and Mr. Leone. So they might not do it. It might not be their priority, to be honest. They might not. They might not. They might not necessarily fix that. So I'll stick with a goalkeeper. The midfield area, like I said, Curtis Jones. If Curtis Jones gets sold, it's the least. It's going to be their least priority. That's why I think Liverpool are fairly relaxed. You can see that they're sticking to that. I think it's 40 million euro valuation, but we'll see how that goes. But it's low priority so far. So far, I've just got the goalkeeper. Their biggest area of concern for me is probably the fullback area because they've got three fullbacks there, but they're not good quality, in my opinion. It might be a structural thing, but they're not good quality or they're not the right profile of quality, in my opinion. Let's see what Areola does with them. And there's only kind of three that they can look at. Are they the wrong profile as well? Like what they're going to do? They're going to need at least one more fullback to help balance things. Oh no, they're going to need two because they sold Robertson, so they've only got two. So they're going to need two fullbacks, one goalkeeper. Salah has left. They've got Ngoma and Gakpo could also leave. But obviously they've bought Munoz, which makes sense for them. So they've got Munoz and Ngoma and Gakpo at the moment. And depending on whether they sell Gakpo or not, they could need another two. They could need another two forwards. Hence why Liverpool are so high on Barcola, and they're willing to spend big money on there as well. So goalkeeper, uh, uh, a goalkeeper, two fullbacks, uh, possibly two wide forwards, and then the striking department. It's going to be pretty hard for them to sell to buy another striker since they got Isak and Ekatike, and that'd be a hard sell. So maybe they don't go for another striker. But I certainly see Liverpool buying two wide forwards, at least one fullback, um, uh, possibly. I'm going to leave the midfield area out for a minute. Depends what happens with Curtis Jones. But what they need, I'm going to talk about what they actually need. They need two wide forwards. They need one fullback. They need one goalkeeper, for sure. So about 4 or 5 players, and they're in the financial position to do it. But Liverpool aren't far from being. Let me know, guys. Do you guys think Liverpool can compete next season, and what would it take? Um, I'm going to look at the chat in a minute. I personally don't think they're far off. I'll be keen to see what Areola does with the fullbacks. That's their that's the part that's the part of the field that leads them that lets them down the most, in terms of quality and depth. You've got a really good midfield. Um, although they're still trying to figure out how to make Verts work a little bit. But I think James Trafford will make a big difference in their goalkeeping area. Um, uh, I don't think their centre back and central midfield will be a priority. Um, Certainly, a fullback that will help balance them out would be a priority. Um, and at least two forwards, hence Barcola and Munoz, would certainly get them will get them not back to Mo Salah levels, but get them back into a situation where they got quality and depth as well. So you probably have Barcola and Munoz on one side, or at least been able to play both sides, Vangoma on the other side. So Barcola and Gakpo on one side, Ngoma and Munoz on the other side, for instance, or vice versa. It's an interesting position that they're in because they're not far off. They're not far off, but it's an awkward one, for them, and Iriola being there. I just think Arsenal are in a better position to move forward, but uh, Liverpool have a very strong and talented squad. And if they make some right decisions in terms of their wide forwards and their fullback area, they're already making good decisions with their goalkeeping area of Trafford. They could be right back in the mix, right back in the mix. They bought Muniz, who was a good decision. If they get Barcola as well, I think that's them pretty sorted in the wide areas. It'll be interesting to see if they sell Gakpo. If they sell Gakpo, they'll have to go in for somebody else, which could be problematic, or it could not be. We'll see. I think they can compete, but I think they've just got a little bit too much work to do for this season, maybe, in order to win the title, in my opinion. And with a new coach as well, I think it could be problematic for them. But they certainly, I haven't looked at City at the moment, but they're certainly, I think, going to be in that top three area again for sure. Let me see what you guys are saying. James says at least another centre back, two fullbacks, and probably needs a white winner, but I wouldn't see it. A wide winner, a wide winger, right? But I wouldn't see it necessarily yet when they have Rio. Yeah, I think Rio will continue playing. It'll be Rio, Munoz, Barcola, and and Gakpo. Um, unless they sell Gakpo as well. So it's an interesting one. I'll be surprised if they sell Gakpo because he can play as a forward as well. He can cover for Isak Akatike. I'll be surprised if Liverpool make that sell. Anyway, Liverpool, Register Kev says Liverpool need to improve sporting director role. Oh yeah, you've actually forgot. You reminded me. Thanks for that, Register Kev. And their sporting directors leaving. Although, or Michael Edwards has left as the CEO, but at least Hughes has got the good manners to leave after the transfer window. Paul Mitchell didn't do that for us. So that's going to be another huge thing for them. It's going to be interesting. They need forwards and defense for sure. For sure. I think though the defense, in my opinion, if they're looking to they can get a centre back, but with Gomez, Van Dijk, then you got the two other young lads, Leone and Jeremy Jacquet. I don't think it's going to be their priority, in my opinion. I think their priority will be goalkeeper, their priority will be fullbacks, and their biggest priority will be their wide forwards. Well, no. Their no, their two big priorities are wide forwards and fullbacks. Their two number one joint top priorities is fullbacks and wide forwards, and then second to that is the goalkeeper, in my opinion. Register Kev says Liverpool will get Barcola. Fab doing the eye emojis. Oh, is he? It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a very, very good one. I think it will speed up now with France out of the World Cup. Yeah, that's a good call. That's a good call, Register. James says, I'm finding next season very hard to see who would actually win. There's lots of changeover between managers throughout the league, so I'm just about to see at the end of the week exactly lots of change. Iriola at Liverpool, Maresca at City, Xabi Alonso at Chelsea, De Zerbi at Tottenham, even though obviously joined last season, but it's still fairly new there anyway. I know it's all Premier League manager, but it's fairly new there. There's somebody else I'm missing out on, I feel like. Carrick is still a new manager. He's been there for half a season, but he's still a fairly new manager at Man United and kind of in the career as well. So they're all new guys. Whereas the Kev says, I think they're in a mess. Got to see end of the window was been done. I think far off. If Viola new to a top team and multiple games, aging squad, missing positions, a lot to do. Do you think they're an aging squad? Their average is like 25 years of age. I don't think they're an aging squad. For me personally, I wouldn't. I can see what you mean by mess. I think there's a little bit of misprofiling in there. Well, there's a lot of misprofiling in their fullback area. Even though their midfield areas are strong, I still think they need to figure out what to do with Verts a little bit more. Yeah, I can see it. Maybe I'm one rung above a mess. I don't think they're a mess. I don't think they're a mess, but I think they need a lot of work for sure. Especially compared to Arsenal, for instance. Mr. Kev says Gomez injury prone, VVD been going downhill and only getting older. True, fullbacks aren't great, and Jacket and Leone too young. No, for sure. For sure, it'd be interesting because they've got the financial power to get the players in all those positions, but would they want that much change? I'll be curious to see that. I'll be curious to see that. I think Van Dijk is super important for them to keep at least this season. The Real Madrid derby. What Real Madrid derby? Let me know. Oh, what? No. Who's the Real Madrid derby? I mean, they're spying in terms of who they rely on. Okay, got you. Like Allison and VPD. Yeah, they are declining for sure. They are declining. But I think if they get James Trafford in, it's huge. And I think if they get, I think the two young boys that come in, there's a lot of good talk about them. And VBD could really help in terms of blooding them in. James says, I forgot to say, you can also display Frimpong as a right wing. He's used to playing that a lot in Europe. That is true. That is true. So they've got that to fall back on if they want. I don't know if they want to do that, but that's certainly an option for sure. Fulham versus Chelsea due to the managers. Oh yeah, true, true, true. So Fulham got Arbeloa and they got obviously Chelsea got Maresca. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You guys you're writing the storylines already there. You're writing the storylines already. Cool. So that's Liverpool. I think I'm in agreement with a lot of what you guys are saying. They probably need about five, maybe six players. Priority being wide forwards and fullbacks and goalkeeper. Um, Big money could be spent on Barcola. Good money has been spent on Munoz. It was a big priority for us. Um, I do also think it's in their big interest to keep players like Gakpo, like VVD, because I think that the best way I can describe it, they're entering a period of transition with their manager, with their also at the top of their CEO, their sporting director, with the players that are coming in. So even though they've got a good overall team, like a good overall kind of quality team, they're going through a transition, Liverpool, and I would still expect them to be around the top three. Let me know where you'd have them. Let me know, Register James, anybody that's here. Let me know where you'd have them. Adrian says, Paul getting Trafford, but we've been waiting politely in line for 3 years. I know, Adrian. Have you just found? Oh, it's coming from our ITKs. I think we're going to get. I think we're going to get someone along the lines of like a Zion Suzuki type of goalkeeper, if not Zion himself. Um, so that's my kind of thoughts on it. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. So that's Liverpool, guys. Towards the other, look forward to seeing what they do at the end of the transfer window when we're covering them. Do they meet the demands of their squad at the end of the window? I think they probably will, but I do think it's a state of transition for the team in general. Okay, so let's turn our attention to Newcastle United now. Um, we're not gonna. There's a lot of. I've got like three or four players that we can do scouting reports. So I'm not gonna do three or four because I've got to leave some for Thursday. I also wanted to kind of do a general overview of some of the news that's going on as well. Get you guys' thoughts on a few things. But the players, I'm going to ask you now, once we're talking, which one would you want to do a scouting report on? The players I've got are Nico Williams, the left, I think is the left back for Nottingham Forest, who can play also right back, very, very versatile. Former Liverpool Academy graduate, linked to Newcastle United. I've got a scouting report on him. That's Nico Williams. I got Danilo Santos, central midfielder, rumored to be the replacement for Bruno Gomes. That's Danilo Santos. Then I've got João Gomez from Wolves as well. Lots of teams looking for him, but Newcastle have been linked as well. My apologies, guys. But yeah, that's the three guys. So Nico Williams, Danilo Santos, and João Gomez. Let me know which one you want to cover. But before we do that, I want to look at. Just a couple, like an overview in terms of transfer news. James says Dino. Thanks for that, James. Let me know what you guys want to do. So Danilo, excuse me, Danilo. So James is Danilo. So we've got Danilo, Joe Gomez, and Nico Williams. I'm going to add Zion Suzuki to the list for Thursday. I think I've done a no, I haven't done a scout report for him. I haven't. I thought I did, but I haven't. All right. So let me see. Let me first see. Is there something to use? Uh, is there news? Okay, now let me go back to my bookmarks. Okay, so let's get into it. Oh, Register says you guys need to do business under the table, maybe some release clauses. Do you think we're doing it over the table? We're trying to be very quiet, Register, but we can't control the media. I don't, we can't control the media. And to be fair, we've bought three players. We've brought in three players. Most of them, I think one of them were under the table, mainly. Um, but Munoz, Spanish media outlets, I take Johan Manzambi. I'll give you that one because Johan Manzambi was being advertised through our Newcastle media. I'm beginning to suspect we did that because we kept on saying we're cautious about it. I'm beginning to suspect that we did it thinking that we can, if we kind of get there early and say we're positive but we're cautious, that they thought they could get in front of it, but instead it backfired and made it worse. So Newcastle can't catch a break when it comes to these transfers at the moment. But I don't think I'm not Man United. I don't think Newcastle United are advertising their targets. I don't think that's happening in my point of view. All right. So I want to go over some interesting news, and I've got some overall news as well. I wanted to see what you guys are thinking. Okay, so let's start from the top here. This is an interesting one. I'm not saying there's anything in it. I'm not saying that it's going to happen or it's not going to happen, but it's interesting. But I didn't realize this, and this has come from Sean. Well, Sean Casey is quoting Hand of Arsenal. And if anybody knows anything about Hand of Arsenal, he is a super influential account on X. He's I can't believe I don't follow him. I thought I followed him on X. He's a influential Arsenal account on X, covering Arsenal news, and he pretty much gets a lot of things right to a very good detail. So it's interesting that he's obviously Sean Casey's cover is quoting him, and this has just come in the this has come in on this is well, it's yesterday now, but essentially today, but yesterday, 14th of July, at very late hours at 10 p.m. And this is on Johan Manzambi. Now, Hand of Arsenal was quoting Fabrizio Romano. And obviously, Romano is saying, as he really likes to for Newcastle, Newcastle are set to leave. This happened, this obviously quoting Romano. Romano said this on 12th of July. Newcastle are set to leave talks with Johan Manzambi. He's advancing the negotiations with Aston Villa. Manzambi gives priority to Villa after deal hijacked this weekend, as mentioned earlier. He has mentioned that Newcastle had been hijacked many, many times. And the player always wanted said club, right? Now, Hand of Arsenal is quoted. I wonder what prompted him to do this. But Hand of Arsenal is quoting this post from Fabrizio, and he says Villa upset his camp, that being Johan Manzambi. Villa upset his camp through, excuse me, Villa upset his camp though with Rwanda sponsor. So if you guys didn't know, Aston Villa have got a new sponsor. I think Visit Rwanda or Rwanda Visit Rwanda sponsor, which they announced I think yesterday or the day before. So it's their front of shirt. It's their front of shirt sponsor. Visit Rwanda is their front of shirt sponsor. Hand of Arsenal goes on to say, so Villa upset his camp though with Rwanda sponsor. Not sure if it's big enough, and this is his opinion, to be a deal breaker, but his camp certainly are not happy about it. So Villa upset his camp with the Rwanda sponsor. Not sure if it's big enough to be a deal breaker, but his camp certainly are not happy about it. What I try to do is I'm not sure why they're upset about it. He obviously plays for Switzerland. His family origins, as I discovered, are from Angola. And now I know in East Africa, between Rwanda, Uganda, Congo, Angola, there's been various like changes in. Sometimes you get conflicts, you get over mines and things of that nature. I just don't know. I try to see what the situation is between Angola and Rwanda, and obviously from Google, but I don't know if it was over that. Has there been tensions? Yeah, but it's been more diplomatic, and there's been kind of not little. It's not little. There's been skirmishes. There's been issues here, like continuously through the years. But I just don't know enough about it to comment on it in any depth. What I try to understand is why they would have why his camp would be upset by it. It's not clear how upset they are. I guess I was just trying to figure out why they would be upset by it. And there's a lot of comments saying why would they be upset by it as well. But I think that's just us, me, them, kind of being ignorant of the situation between. I'm guessing it's between Rwanda and. That's my guess. I'll have to look a little bit into it. But it's there. And like Hand of Arsenal said, I don't know if it will be a deal breaker, but certainly the camp are not happy about it. Now remember, this is a front of shirt sponsor. It's not a sleeve sponsor. It's not a sponsor you have on your match of the day trophy or something thing. This is a front of shirt sponsor. He's going to be wearing it wherever he goes, home and away in the Champions League. Is going to be seen on social media. It's going to be seen worldwide. Again, unless Switzerland have got beef with Rwanda, maybe, I don't know, or with his parents' country of origin, which is Angola. I'm guessing it's Angola. So he's going to be on his front of shirt. So I don't know how deep that beef is, but obviously it's enough. Oh, Adrian said there's 1,000 miles of DRC between Angola and Rwanda. There's thousands of miles of DRC between Angola and Rwanda. Angola is west. Oh, it is west, so it's nowhere near. So why does he have a problem with Angola? Not Angola, excuse me. Why does he have a what is let me see just quickly. What is Manzambi issue with front of shirt with Villa? What could be? I'll say what could be. What could be? See, my geography is way off as well. What could be Manzambi issue with Villa's visit Rwanda? Rwanda front of shirt sponsor. Um, what could be there? Right? What could be his issue? Ah, don't know if it's true. This is on Facebook. I don't know if this is true. I'll have to know because it says, okay, reports on X that Manzambian deal to Villa is at risk because of their announcement that they will be sponsored by Visit Rwanda. This has upset him and his camp as Manzambi's dad is Congolese. That's a problem. Manzambi's dad is Congolese. Also report that Konza, who is also from Congo descent, is not happy either. Konza's at Villa. Uh, Interesting. Now this is all like speculative, and I'm not. I don't know if it's it's hand of Arsenal. This isn't like an ITK of an ITK. My dad knows your dad's security guard who knows the gardener. Or anything else. This is a hot hand of Arsenal. Hand of Arsenal is pretty is a big deal. You don't kind of dismiss it out of hand. Let me double check. Are Johan Zambi's parents Johan Zambi? Because if you can, if it is, because Adrian, obviously, I don't know if it's still on here, but it's not Angola. Then it's not 1,000 miles away. Sorry, I got that wrong. Um, it's actually Congo, and if it is Congo, Congo and Rwanda do have problems. So Johan Zambi Manzambi Manzambi parents nationality or origin. That's why I got it. That's why. So one parent is from Angola, and the other, so which is dad. So his mom must be from his mother's from Angola, and his father is from Congo. His father is from Congo. Manzambi was born in Geneva himself. Ah, there you go. There you go. What do you guys think? Because if you, like I said, this is a front of shirt sponsor. If his father would have experienced coming from Congo, he would have seen, he would have, he, would- him, his family would have experienced conflict, war, um, to varying degrees. Um, you know, and if you can imagine, there's nations around the world at the moment who are in at war, and if you're from opposite countries and you've got, you're from a certain country, and then you've got a front of shirt sponsor of that other any well at the moment country that you're at war with, visit this country, visit this country that your parents are at war with. They've had to flee violence and all these other things. That could be problematic. Oh, I could see why that would be problematic for you. That would be of conflict for you, even though he was born in Geneva. I don't know how close he is to his Congolese roots, for instance. I imagine pretty close. His father's is it's enough for him for his camp to be upset by it. Your dad, man. You know, it's gonna be it might be a bit difficult for dad to be smiling in front of the cameras with the country that you've got conflict with on your son's shirt. That might be problematic for some people. Like though I'm with what Hand of Arsenal is saying. Not sure if it's big enough to be a deal breaker. I don't know if this is a big enough situation to be a deal breaker. Uh, but as he says, as what he is saying late in this evening, but their camp are not happy about it. So what do they do with it? Oh, if you're gonna go along with it, you're gonna be in the Champions League with it. Everybody's gonna see it. Everyone in Congo is gonna see it, right? Um, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you got. I would ordinarily ignore it, but because it's Hand of Arsenal and he gets he's in the know on a lot of things. I thought I'll run it past you guys and see what you guys think. Yep, Danilo. So Adrian also wants to look at Danilo. So we'll look at Danilo. Uh, James is talking about Phil partially wasn't our fault. I think we were able to get permission to do a medical during the World Cup. Then it would have pushed him to sign because of the national team ban. There is that. I just think he could have given us some sort of exclusivity, even through Freiburg, because Freiburg agreed to the transfer fee. He could have talked to Freiburg and said, "Could you, or Newcastle, can you put some exclusivity into the transfer fee that you agree that you know this is exclusive to Newcastle?" Uh, Maybe they did. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they did. But I hear what you're saying for sure. I heard that same thing. James says, just isn't worded well. I don't know if it's factual or is there any truth in it. It's Hand of Arsenal. It's Hand of Arsenal. And he's a big source. Like he's a big source. He's a big source. And you don't dismiss what he's saying. Some people will put him. I think I was going to say that. I'm not going to say that. No, how would I say it? He's 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 pretty close to like Ornstein levels. The reason he's not Ornstein levels and maybe Fabius because he hasn't got the same reach around different clubs. He's obviously very focused on Arsenal. So I'll be very interested in how he came across this particular information. Maybe because he's looking at Rogers and Villa, so he might have some Villa sources and everything else that's of interest to him, but mainly Arsenal sources. But I'm not dismissing it because it's because because it's Hand of Art. If it was anybody else, anybody lower than Hand of Arsenal, I don't think I would even run the story because I just look, like it would just look pathetic. You know what I mean? It would just look pathetic. But only because it's Hand of Arsenal. Otherwise, I wouldn't talk about it. James says this is going to go on for a while. Unfortunately, I'm seeing this link since 2019. It may not be enough to push them out, but if the sponsor decides to back out, that may give reasons for Aston Villa. The sponsor's not going to back out. That's already been official. They are the official sponsor for Aston Villa. It's up to Manzambi and his dad to kind of kind of what's the word I'm thinking of, to maybe reflect and to what's that? There's another word I'm looking for on their maybe to reflect on their convictions, how to reflect how strong their convictions are. James says the link between Congo and Rwanda, it could turn into Albury quickly. Unfortunately, I don't know what you mean, that Albury. Let me know. Adrian says, let's get Konza too while we're at it. Well, Konza might be talking about Arsenal. They might give him a good reason to go to Arsenal because Arsenal are looking at him. James says, could turn into a war very quickly, unfortunately, but this has been going on since 2019. What has? Adrian says, Rwanda is a smuggling hub for conflict minerals. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Saudi is quite involved in Rwanda too, so it's not. Let's not get overexcited. But he had no problems in negotiating with us, though. Like, or maybe that was his way of getting one over us on us by just saying no at the end. Maybe. um, yeah. So I thought I'd run that story by. Uh, it'll be absolutely remarkable if anything came of it. Okay, so the next one is because I like this one because it gives an overall picture, and in terms of players that we have looked at, will look at in terms of Newcastle. And this is coming from this is what I liked about it is it's big up to Newcastle United. I think France. I think it's a French Newcastle United supporter, so big up to them or big up to him. And he's given an overall view of what was said in the I newspaper, not or the Athletic, either the Athletic or the I newspaper. It's got Chris Wall quoted, so it might be the Athletic. I thought it was the I newspaper, there must be the Athletic. But they've obviously covered in the Athletic, Chris Wall did, who Newcastle were looking at in terms of positions and areas, right? So, but thanks to Newcastle for being able to kind of get that out. So, what it goes on to say is Newcastle, what are the positions and players being monitored by Newcastle? How wants to recruit two midfielders? It might be three, at least one fullback, and a goalkeeper. Okay, I think we're also looking for another forward, especially on the back of Jacob Murphy leaving. It's still unknown whether he will try to recruit another winger. Okay, that makes sense. Later in the transfer window, so I think that depends on Jacob Murphy. Who I don't know if you saw the guy's picture of Jacob Murphy. He's come back looking like the Terminator. So midfielders that have been looked at, obviously Danilo, who we're going to look at today, ex Nottingham Forest, João, who's currently at Botafogo, João Gomez. A few clubs are looking at him, though I do think I might be wrong on this, but I was thinking about João Gomez. Listen, Liverpool are linked, Man United are linked. I think Man United are going to get either Sanderberg or what's his name, Manu Kone. In fact, Sanderberg. I'm going for Sanderberg, and I think Liverpool are going to get Felix Nemeka, in my opinion. But it could be wishful thinking. So I think Newcastle have a good chance of getting him if they want him. Kevin Danwa, who everybody knows, we did a scouting report on him. Angelo Stiller, also we did a scouting report on him recently. And then fullbacks, I wouldn't mind if we both got Danilo and João Gomez, by the way. Fullbacks, Joaquin Says, we saw briefly for Belgium as well, as mentioned in January, but obviously been linked to Nico Williams now as well, which it's a surprise link to me. Only not because of, I think it's a very good quality fullback. I'm surprised that, well, to be fair, obviously Ross Wilson has got good, that's his former club and everything else. So, but I just, all the stories about Marion, but we have a decent chance. I was going to say I didn't think we would want to deal with Marinakis, but to be fair, we've kind of had good dealing with them, isn't it? Yeah, exactly, James. Under the relationship with Ross and Nico Williams, yeah. And then Anan Khalil from Union Saint Galois. USG. I don't know too much about him. Has been considered, although the club denies any interest. The club denies any interest. Goalkeeper Trafford is the number one target, but it was on hold until the end of England's run in the World Cup. Yeah. And then Zion Suzuki, 23 years old, is the alternative being considered internally. I think we end up getting, me personally, I would love it for it to be James Trafford. But once I heard Liverpool, I said, yeah, it's done out here. I think Zion would be the man. And, me kind of doing the brief look over his metrics, looking at his interview as well. He's an interesting player, an interesting goalkeeper. And I'll be doing a scouting report on him fairly soon. So let me know what you guys think of that list. It shouldn't be a surprise, though I don't. I think we're going to get more than the two midfielders. Um, though I don't know if you guys saw, Craig Hope was saying that Joe Willock might be made captain. I thought Joe Willock would get sold. If Bruno leaves, they're considering Joe Willock for captain. I don't know if that's Craig Hope's idea or the team's idea, but it's or Howe's and others' idea. But I was like, okay, wow, I didn't expect that. At least on fullbacks, which says that they might want to. They might want two, so that might be four players, a goalkeeper, and that's five, and possibly another winger. So that would make it six. If Bruno were to leave, well, they might keep Willock essentially. So it's certainly between five and seven players. Newcastle will still likely have 5 and 7 players. And the other player that's been linked as well, who I will do a scouting report on as well, is this gentleman, Pavel Suliks. I'm not got his name wrong. I have to look it up. Plays for Leon. He's now playing as the number 10. He has though a history of playing in midfield and on the wings. Have a look at his comp. I know comps are comps, but interesting player as well. It looks like we're really, really, really looking at him. According to Sean Casey, I said really, really. Okay, talk of Newcastle looking at him, according to Sean Casey, and that's actually from the French report here. 25-year-old Czech international. I'll be doing a scouting report on him as well at some point. But it also points to the fact that Newcastle definitely want a number 10. They definitely want a number 10. And it actually makes sense for Joe Willock to stay because I think he's got a very similar profile in my point of view. He's Czech. He's Czech. He's definitely Czech. Yeah, Adrian. Yeah, that's what Craig Hope is quoted as saying. Captain. I know. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. Yeah, but Willock has got a very similar kind of profile, in my opinion, to Manzambi. It's going to be distinctions and differences, obviously, but it makes sense if we play Willock through the middle. If we're going to do that double pivot with a number 10 up front. I think Willock would favour that. But yeah, James says J7 not yet, maybe January or the next summer. Injury had no would take him at the moment. We've already sold too many players. No, not too many players. That's the word I'm looking for. We've already let go of a lot of experience. James says he's slightly hitting above our age range, Pavel. I believe it's around 2024 for the first team, except some special cases. He's 25. He's younger than both Bruno and Tonali, who are the players. Well, Tonali's left, obviously, and Bruno could leave. And in my opinion, he does leave. So he's younger than them. I think he's also younger than Joe Willock. Let me double check that. How old is Joe Willock? Yeah, he's younger than Joe Willock. Joe Willock is 26. How old is Tonali? He's also 26 years old, and obviously Bruno's going to be 29. So he is pushing it, but he's not like he's still within pretty much. He maintains it, and I think we can't go. We've already got three very young players in Torre, Sture, and Johan, and more to come. So I think I think we're trying to we're trying to stay balanced. I think we're trying to stay balanced in terms of ages. So there's some transfer news that I was wanting to cover with you guys, but Pavel is certainly very interesting as well. In fact, let me go straight to a compilation for him before I do because I typically don't do it like this. I like to do the breakdown. In fact, I'm gonna let me show you what I see. Let me show you what I see. Let me show you what I see for Mr. Pavel. Share this tab instead. Okay, so and the thing is, you can find him in. There's a lot on him in different positions. Is it Sulik? Sulik. So in 24-25, he played for Victoria Paulzan. And before that as well, actually, in the forward areas, Pavel Sulik. You can also play. And this is him. This is forward areas, right? So you can see non-penalty goals XG. I think Victoria is in Austria. So elite non-penalty goals, assists, assists, key passes, crosses, very elite, very good goal carrying as well. Dribbling not as high, but very good carrying. So some really, really good stats there. I can't believe is he a striker for Lyon? I have to remember Sulik. Yeah, they've got him as a striker for Lyon, which is interesting, right? So this is the metrics are slightly different for strikers, right? But what he's maintained, his conversion rate as a striker is very, very good. In fact, it's heading towards elite, if not elite, 86.2 percentile. And I think he got I want to say he had a 20 plus GA season. I think he did. Let me double check that. Yeah, so Pavel Sulik, let me share this with you quickly. So, yeah, he had 25 GA this season, playing 2,400 minutes. 25 GA is pretty good. And before anybody says how it was Europa Conference, the majority of them was in League R. 11 goals, 3 assists, playing 1,500 minutes. That's a good return. The rest were domestic cups and UEFA Conference, right? A Czech First League, which is interesting. What was that about? Is Victoria Plzeň in Czech Republic or something? I thought it was in Austria. Victoria Plzeň. It must be in Czech Republic then. Okay. But yeah, they found him. 15 Leon did in somewhere in the Czech Republic, and he's doing very well for them. So it makes a lot of sense that his conversion rate is very, very high. His conversion rate 86 percentile. Non-penalty goals is also very good. Not non-penalty. Yeah, non-penalty MPG. Non-penalty goals. Where is it? MPG. 89 percentile. Touches in the box, very, very good. Assists, very, very good. Offensive duels, not as high. I'd have to kind of, again, because I haven't studied him, how he plays, I'll have to know why that's the case. It's actually the same case for Ekatike, for instance, and his aerials are very, very low. But I don't think that's his style of play. I'm beginning to think that he can play as a false nine, and he probably plays as a false nine for Lyon, but I haven't confirmed that just yet. So very interesting player. Let me just have a quick show you guys a quick compilation of him, and then we'll go off to Danilo. What's your name? Your name is Pavel. 2026 season. So let me share this with you guys. Can you see this? Yeah, you can. Take off the volume so I don't get into trouble. So yeah, look, to give you an idea, they've got him compared to Thomas Muller. I don't know, Tony Fruch and Andre Karamak. He plays for. I want to say this is Karamak that plays for Hoffenheim. But Thomas Muller, very well known Bayern number 10. So it kind of gives you an idea. So he's not a striker, but he's probably a false 9, 10, who's got a history of playing on the wings, playing in midfield for various teams, being very, very creative. Kind of gives you an idea of where he comes from. Again, great strike there. You can see how he appears on the edge of the box there, just there. And I wonder if that's how primarily he plays. I'm going to end up doing a scouting report on this guy, like literally right now, because I'm just curious. Because obviously his offensive duels were like pretty average, but you can see why they were pretty average because he's not necessarily. Oh, what a finish! Goodness gracious me! And it's because he's not necessarily tussling with defenders, but he's kind of drifting in through the half spaces or from out wide. Um, he's not like a target man as well. Again, you can see him driving into the box. That's his kind of area. Again, he's a number 10. So we're really looking for that number 10. Great dribble in there. Can he finish it off? Beautiful. So yeah, I thought I'll show you guys a snippet of him. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think. James says, if he's meant to be a number 10, then I'll take him. 11 goals, 3 assists. Yeah, I'll take him for that in 27 matches. His overall lack of him throughout teams. And he's played for 19 goals and 57 assists, which is really good. Impressive. He is. James says, yes, they're our second best team, but I believe in the league. Yes, they are a second best team. I believe in the league. France. Exactly. He's doing it in France. He's doing the Liga. They're generally a top 2 team, in Liga. Very good alternative. But let's see. All right. So let's cover Danilo a little bit for about 10 minutes. Um, let me make sure I got it on my slide. Yeah, I do. So that's Nico. All right, Danilo. Oh, and check firstly. Okay, check firstly. Okay. Thanks for that, James. All right, so Mr. Danilo, Brazil international, has won 2 Libertadores in Brazil. Continuous structural engine. So full name Danilo dos Santos de Oliveira. He's 25 years old. Speaking of 25-year-olds, place of birth Salvador, Brazil. He's a Brazilian, 5'10". Though when I see him, he looks taller than that. Other positions: box-to-box midfield and deep line playmaker. Well, it's his current club, but former club was Nottingham Forest. Excuse me. This is coming off from the excuse me, from Total Football Analysis and the Scouting app. So I think they're covering his time at Nottingham Forest and Palmeiras. So rather than not Nottingham Forest, Palmeiras and I want to say Botafogo, but let's see. So He's evolved from an elite ball. He had an evolution from an elite ball recycler. So in the Palmeiras, where his foundation was, the scouting app was looking at him in 2022. So he's emerging as the solitary foundational heartbeat of Abel Ferreira's highly organized structure. Danilo achieved absolute historical verification by participation in every single game of Palmeiras' back-to-back Copa Libertadores triumphs over his 21st birthday. He tagged immediately by metric scouts as an elite dynamic shield. His game combined unmatched spatial coverage with inherent aggressive capacity to close space between lines or drop between centre backs to construct numeric advantages. So he sounds like he's already got something over, for instance, Tonali in the sense of how he's covered space and how he protects his centre backs. Not over Tonali, but has awareness of it. And when you're talking about a coach that's highly organized and dynamic, highly organized and kind of strict in terms of the organization, that's Eddie Howe. Is going to download a load of information, and that sometimes takes players time to integrate and apply. But it looks like Mr. Danilo is used to that. He goes on to say in phase two, this is from early 2023, Total Football Analysis. As elite European sporting boards tracked his progression parameters, his multifunctional platform triggered a permanent move to Nottingham Forest. Initially transitioning as an as under the radar structural anchor, his press resistance in tight interior boundaries rapidly inverted into an offensive weapon. Now, at Forest are very, very, especially under Nuno Espirito, you know, they don't want possession. They don't want you. They turn him into a destroyer. So he's got very different metrics at Nottingham Forest compared to Palmeiras, not Palmeiras, compared to Botafogo, for instance. Showing no fear when isolated under Premier League pressure, his ability to cleanly recycle ball possession quickly turned defensive interventions into rapid vertical counterattacks, which was very, very important for Forest. I think he got injured. Number three, the international modern pivot, current standing. This is in June 2026, FIFA World Cup Registry and Technical Review Index. So, nearing the close of the current cycle, Danilo has successfully solidified his footprint on the global stage, forming part of their senior Brazil national team in 2026 FIFA World Cup. His underlying metrics showcase a thoroughly modernized operator, whether starting deep or logging crucial knockout minutes off the bench against high tempo European transitions. His elastic physical frame, that's how I describe it. Elastic physical frame and cultured left boots have cemented him as a universally trusted elite multi-phase midfielder. He can carry the ball from goalkeeper, midfield, and into the final third as well. So his key attributes are his elastic ground and tackle volume. He's highly combative across horizontal zones, displaying an elite peak baseline of 5.8 tackles per match, coupled with a high ground dual success. This is from Breaking the Lines. Cultured left boot playmaking features exceptional multi-distance passing mechanics, utilizing long-range diagonal cross field balls to bypass defensive mid-blocks completely. This is from the scouting app. His press-resistant special escape, exceptionally comfortable when tightly suffocated by opposition lines, using agile body manipulation and low turning radius to carry play forward cleanly, and play out of trouble basically. And deep structural splitting demonstrates supreme tactical intelligence when dropping deep into defensive lines, cleanly executing structural recycling to establish build-up superiority. So essentially a midfielder that can play in all phases of play, in tight spaces, press resistance, has got a passing range on him as well. And I'll show you quite quickly in terms of his metrics, in terms of how he was at Forest and how he is at Botafogo. But it plays out the same way as well. And his FB ref stats are pretty the same as well. But these pros are elite counter-attack trigger, his imposing aerial leverage, 50% aerial dual win rate when he was in Botafogo, especially. Impeccable discipline base, back to back wins with Palmeiras, and double Libertadores pedigree, proven championship caliber focus under extreme continental strain. Those are big championship pressures there that he's been winning over. Weaknesses: he can be overambitious with his passing. Dribbling volume floor, prefers safety cycles and movement carries over direct individual take-ons, which I guess is where Bruno, is good at. Systemic freedom dependency demands a fluid box-to-box layout to unleash his deep creative range. And elite valuation premium, high international utility ensures his marketplace baseline commands an elite premium. So, verdict. Before I go to the chat, Danilo represents a world-class blend of physical tenacity and technical playmaking composure. Who has translated his legendary South American foundation seamlessly into the global stage by fusing elite ball stealing metric volumes with the cultured line breaking distribution required to unlock modern mid blocks. He perfectly satisfies the parameters of a premier, positionally fluid defensive controller, Bruno Guimaraes. While his coaching staff must continue to monitor his overambitious distribution choices during deep building phases, his supreme technical superiority marks him out as an undeniable foundational pillar for any elite Champions League configuration. So high praise there from the scout and profile guys. And this is what I wanted to. This is why I wanted to show you guys something actually. His metrics. I've talked about this before, where I've had a debate with someone about why you don't just compare different players who play for different teams in different positions. No, so even in the same positions, but they play for different teams because they're going to be required to, they could be required different responsibilities, and you can't, and will be around different profile of players themselves, so their metrics will be a lot different from what you would know, from what you would be kind of accustomed to, because he was kind of directly kind of comparing players just like that. Because if you look at Danilo, for instance, what Danilo is this for Forest and for Botafogo? It's like two different Danilos. So this is Danilo with Forest, and that's because if you look at Forest metrics, when we get to the metrics for Forest, I'll make sure I actually get them. They're very low possession, high counter attacking team, especially during the times that he was there. So you can see here, high counter attacking. If his pressing is here, possession is low, almost non-existent, right? So he was doing the role of a destroyer, breaking up play and setting off attacks from the defensive area of the field. Okay. So that was his role. So that's why you can see, for instance, maybe key passes were pretty high for him, but a lot of the other stuff, they took out the carrying, progressive passes going forward because of his role there as well. And again, in the following year, his dual percentages went skyrocketed because they asked him to be a dual. They asked him to kind of be a destroyer rather than a creator or someone that's going to bring the ball forward or anything like that. But this is him. He had an injury, obviously, quite a serious injury. Just because of time, I can't talk about it now. But this is him for Botafogo, right? 24-25 season. I know it's only 1,200 minutes, but it gives you an idea of what they're asking him to do. And it's very different. And the green is him in Botafogo. Forward passes, almost at an elite level. Carrying, very good level. I think it's 70% up for ball carrying. Where is it? progressive carries, excuse me, is 69.8. So good to very good, right? But that's not because he's all of a sudden learned how to do ball carrying or how to pass the ball forward or key passes. That's because he's playing for a team that's gone that is pretty much more on the front foot in possession, and have asked him to be more the person that's involved in the final third, from midfield to final third, and not just to be a destroyer but also a creator. But what it tells you overall is well that he can do both. He can be a destroyer and he can be a creator. And to an extent, he can be a controller. Can he be as good a controller as Bruno Guimaraes? Uh, possibly. Possibly. Is he that currently? For me, that's unknown. I don't think he is. Otherwise, Arsenal will be going after him. But there are some good metrics on him there. Let's have a look at him on some YouTube combinations, do our Dennis Wise counting before we close up. But I can see and I can understand why Newcastle are looking at him. Oh, you guys are saying something. James, I really like him. I watched him a lot in the World Cup. Did you? Okay. Looks like a brilliant player. Good. Okay, so there were strong rumours that Chelsea were looking at him as well, but I don't know what's happening. There's other now rumors saying that he's backed up. This is in my Botafogo 2026 season after Forest. And you can see him already. Bang! Jeez, Louise, a great goal. I wonder what his goal score record there is. I wonder what his score record is. But you can already see he's involved in the penalty box area. He got 9 goals, 2 assists. 9 goals, 2 assists. That's pretty good. Again, involved in the final third. A lot of these in the final third. Close control, riding tackle. Doesn't he look taller than 5'10" to you guys? Maybe it's the way he plays, man. Maybe the way I don't know what it is, but he looks taller than 5'10" to me. Okay, that's him winning. That's him being a destroyer, winning the ball back. Bang! Lovely goal there again for Brazil. Back to goal, turn, great goal. So you can see that he's got that in his locker, but he wasn't being asked to do that for Forest. Outside the box as well, you can see that he prefers that curling shot as well. A lot of stuff in and around the box as well, in the half spaces. Lovely play in between the midfielders there. Got good ball carrying ability as well. On the turn, unlucky. Should have passed it though. A lot of stuff in the final third. I think we'll be asking him to be a little in the double pivot, probably as an advanced eight, next to Miley, next to Ramsey, next to any of the type of guys. But there's a lot to like there. A lot to like there. It will just mean that if we get him, definitely Bruno's is the one to go. It'll be interesting to see who else we get to replace Tonali, for instance. But Danilo and João Gomez would be a good start. I thought he was 5'12", but I'm unsure to be honest. Yeah, honestly, he looks about 6 foot to me. But yeah, man, great player though. Otherwise, all right, folks. Well, we've covered a lot today. We've gone through the Liverpool's squad analysis, their squad depth. I think they're a club and a team that's in transition for sure. I think also that they certainly have the financial ability and global branding to get players in, but with their CEO out, sporting director out, at least 5 or 6 changes to be made to their squad. They're not quite ready to compete just yet, but they're certainly going through a transition phase. I also think that uh, they will probably be in and around the top three, top four areas in the league as well. But also, we covered Newcastle transfer news. I'm interested in Manzambi, Johan Manzambi news, and Villa's front and possibly what do you call it, controversial front and shirt sponsor. Is it going to be a deal breaker? Unknown at this time, but I think we're going to learn a little bit more in the next 24 to 48 hours if Mr. Manzambi isn't there at the medical. But we'll see. Otherwise, good links to Danilo, good links to. I'm actually going to share this part. So yeah, just to kind of verify that a lot of Brazilian sources. This is from NUFC blog, but they're covering Brazilian sources. There are a lot of Brazilian sources saying that. So this is saying that Chelsea back away from the Danilo deal as well, and that Danilo could cost about £26 million, which would be a good deal for Newcastle. But it's some sources are saying that it's certainly developing. It's certainly developing, but we'll see what happens. But we covered Danilo, the scout report on Danilo as well. Seems to be a good fit for Newcastle, as kind of as we talked about, as well as covering other players overall as well, like Pavel Sukic. It could be the number 10. And looking at other players that Newcastle could be looking at. So lots of stuff to cover there. But as always, guys, you've been absolutely phenomenal. Liking, sharing, subscribing. Looking forward to seeing you guys again on Thursday because I've got some good amount of players to cover and to look at. Hopefully, we get some transfer news then as well. Good positive ones in terms of players coming in. But otherwise, as always, folks, make sure you look after each other and God bless you all.